everyone. How are we doing this morning? Great. I know this is such an exciting topic, but also maybe one that induces a little bit of anxiety, right? This looming threat. But don't worry, we are here to help. All right, my name is Taylor Hartley. I am a network security solutions architect with Ericsson, and you guys introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name is Ariston Collander. I'm an Associate Director, Cybersecurity Risk Management with AT&T.
My name is Gabriela Radu. I am part of Vodafone's cybersecurity team.
All right, and we're just going to keep this casual. This is just three friends talking about a quantum risk paper that they wrote together, right? So the guidelines for quantum risk management is what's bring us here. We will share a link when we are done. All right, and what initially attracted me to contribute to this document was, hey, there's this looming threat. How do I drive executive engagement? How do I get this message across my organization? Oh, I need to qualify and quantify this risk. We need some numbers. Okay, let's do that with a risk management framework. So I think Gabriela and I, we joined the PQTN around the same time, and we also had this same thought in the beginning. Okay, a couple of people have introduced a few new methods for a quantum risk assessment, but we're risk and security people. We have risk frameworks, all right? We are risk experts. So how can we expand our knowledge and expand our own frameworks to incorporate this new quantum threat? Right, and we headed down that path, and that's right when Ariston joined us, and he just does a great job at, giving us an overview of organizational risk management and the things that are going to carry over between the two.
Sure. So when we kind of got together, we were looking at some common risk frameworks across some of the industry standard organizations, so NIST and ISO. In particular, NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the NIST Risk Management Framework, and then ISO 27005 and ISO 31010. From there, we put, basically, if you take it and you put a quantum spin on it, side joke, you get some of the more quantum-specific risk assessment frameworks. You've seen in the presentation a little bit earlier the methodology for quantum risk assessment, also known as Muska's XYZ theorem, and also the crypto agility risk assessment framework. So what it in essence does is just applies, kind of quantum perspectives on the existing approach to risk management. And the industry standards or the approach to it are fairly straightforward in terms of what they're asking for. And again, we've heard this before throughout the session thus far, is inventory, right? Asset inventory. Where's your stuff? How is it protected? What cryptologic or algorithms are being used to protect that information? Control selection, right? How are you protecting that information beyond just simply the encryption, right? Privileged access management, identity and access management, multi-factor authentication, and et cetera. Threat vectors, how the bad guys get into your stuff, right? Vulnerabilities, social engineering and that sort of thing. And then finally, the actual threat actors themselves. And as part of the paper, we coined a new term called a quantum-capable threat actor, which is in essence a threat actor who brings cryptographically relevant quantum computing to the table from a risk and threat perspective.
Thank you so much. And again, just another shout out to Ariston. He coined several terms in this paper, and I think we all know how important it is for us all to have a reference document for us to go back and look at these terms so we all have the same understanding of what's happening. And I want to expand on this quantum-capable threat actor just a little bit. This is such a unique threat. It doesn't exist today, right? A CRQZ, well, we think it doesn't exist today, right? But this quantum-capable threat actor, that does exist today, all right? With a harvest now and decrypt later, or store now and decrypt later attack, these quantum-capable threat actors, all right, they can still store large amounts of encrypted data, and then they're just waiting for the advent of a CRQC, so then they can unencrypt it, right? And so that takes us into Muska's XYZ theory. Right, so we break this down in the paper. It's also just a small part of his whole methodologies, and we go over that. We use a use case in the guidelines as well. And so Muska's XYZ, X is the length of time an asset needs to remain confidential. Y is the time that it takes for that asset or the cryptographic means that protect that asset for that to migrate to something that's quantum resistant. And then Z is the time it takes for a CRQC, or a quantum relevant, or a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, to be realized. So if your confidentiality period plus your migration time is greater than the time we think that a quantum computer is going to arrive, well, then your asset's vulnerable today, right? So I think this is a great way to drive executive engagement and kind of give this, bam, I want something to remain confidential for 20, 30, or maybe forever years, right? But it's not exactly binary, right? We need something that's more low, medium, high, and critical risk, because that's the reality of it. So the other document that Ariston mentioned, CARIF, the Crypto Agility Risk Assessment Framework, so it does that, all right? It breaks things down and gives you a bit of a better matrix. So you have something that's, a bit less in trouble, not in trouble. I also think that CARIF does a really good job of pointing at the organizational changes that you also need to make and how you need to incorporate these things into your organization. That being said, we do have a lot of risk management frameworks in our organizations that we're already using, and we already have risk experts, right? And so I'm going to pass it over to Gabriela, and she'll talk more about that.
Thanks, Taylor. I'm going to go a bit off script compared to what we discussed. Hope that's okay. And we're halfway through the seminar, and I, want to loosen our spirits for a little bit. Sorry. And I really hope that at least 2 people in the audience laugh. So here it goes. The mayfly has a life expectancy of just 1 day. Okay? Now, your data, our data, does not. Our data is going to be valuable and vulnerable because of this, right? So what do we do about it? Taylor and Ariston gave us some really good ideas to go through with it, and I want to take it a bit deeper into something that I honestly would love to hear more of at any cybersecurity conference, which is security culture, and that we need to embed this sort of. The very first thing is my reaction to when I hear the word quantum as whatever my role is should not be, oh, that sounds interesting, or, oh, I want to run away. No, we need to make it across the board that, oh, that sounds interesting. So that's, I think, the key takeaway that I would really love for all of us to focus on when we go back home, when we go back to our organizations. We just need to make it more popular across the board, and that means embedding it into our security culture overall, right? Now, the second one is a bit more risk-related, which is you need to update your risk appetite, right? This is coming. We've been talking about it for ages, and regardless of whether we know when it's going to hit us, we need to be aware, and when it shows up, that risk management framework that you probably have in the back of your minds right now, right? It's a nice matrix. We're over there. That's our risk appetite. No, you need to update that and basically go and talk to all of your CISOs, your CTOs, and ensure that they get it and everybody else within the organization does. Going back to my previous point. Now, this is all fine and dandy. How do we actually do it, right? Everybody's asking that, okay? Well, we prioritize. With risk management, you need to work on a prio list. You can't just go at it, okay, everything is important. No, you prioritize, and the basic 3 case studies that we have show a little bit about that, right? We have the high risk, we want to avoid, okay, that goes without saying, that's easy, right? Then we have the middle one, right? It's not a high one, it's not a low one, but we need mitigation. This is where the majority of our efforts as cyber experts, as risk experts, it's basically going to focus on. There's a third category, which is low-level risk that people tend to push off a bit. I'm just hoping that we pay enough attention to it so that it doesn't come back and bite us in 10 years' time, because that's important too, but top 3 priority. All right? So, Taylor, back to you.
Good. We even have a risk acceptance use case in the document too, when the cost to switch it over is just too great, right? It's not worth it. All right, so maybe let's just go around and talk about some of our favorite key points from the paper, that in case you don't read it, at least you can take that home with you.
Yeah, having these kind of last minute key takeaways are really crucial. So I have three. The first is governance. So in terms of ownership, establish executive ownership and a governance structure from the ops teams all the way up to executive leadership. This needs to be something that kind of pervades throughout the organization. It can't just be one tiny silo that talks about it and the rest of the organization doesn't really think about it. So it needs to be kind of establish a governance structure. Operational capabilities. We talked about crypto agility. We've heard about it a couple of different times. Keep an eye on the industry. What tools are going to be available to execute on crypto agility and anything else that comes down the road to become quantum proof in the future or quantum safe. And then education and awareness. So it kind of ties in with the governance aspect. Train your risk people in quantum. They don't have to be quantum experts or quantum mechanics experts, but they need to be aware of what quantum brings to the table from a risk and from a threat actor and a threat vector perspective. So those are my key takeaways.
So building on what Ariston said, yes, train your risk managers, yes, train everybody at C-level, but also don't forget about individual contributors, guys who would never maybe even work with vulnerability management or hardening standards. Train the guys in comms, train the guys everywhere, because we all need to know it's coming.
All right, and I guess mine is, well, it's not the first time you've heard this today, and it's not going to be the last time you hear this in probably years, but start today, right? And what does that really mean? Well, it probably means Monday afternoon when we're all back in our normal work situations. Read an article, read our paper, read our other GSMA work, reach out. We'll send you more documents. Have a conversation. Set a meeting with someone, right? That's where it starts, is just asking questions. Who's tracking this, all right? Talk to your product managers. Maybe a lot of people already have this in their mind, but they're all siloed off and no one's talking to each other because we have to get internally organized, right? So we can continue to contribute across the industry. Right? It's key. And this is going to be hard, all right? We are not quantum experts, okay? We started this like 6 months ago, and we are risk and security people, but we learned it, and we wrote a paper on it, and we are ready to write another one. So if you have any questions, concerns, or issues, reach out to us. We would definitely love to do a version 2. We'd love to expand on some of the things in here. I think that creating an inventory is going to be very difficult, right? Just even defining the scope. Where do we get started, right? That's so hard. I also know there's interest for supply chain. What does the industry need, all right? What can we help you do? So please reach out to us, talk to us here afterwards, or reach out on LinkedIn. All right. Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's it.
Perfect. Thank you all
Thank you
so much for your
Appreciate
time.
it.